Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. माइक चेक किया था? हाँ, माइक चेक किया था?
He's switching it on. He's just switching it on 30 seconds. He's switching it on the mic from upstairs. Okay. Swami. Should switch the chairs.
Anna, Krishna. That song, the bhajan, is just different pastimes of Krishna and Sri Vrindavan. It's as good as the Maha Mantra, simply. All of Krishna's sweet leelas with his devotees. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we had, so far, since we began, we finished the first four verses. Today we're going to just kind of skim through 5 and 6, because This tomorrow morning is the last class on Nectar of Instruction. That'll be the Bhagavatam class. And the most important verse, or one of the most powerful verses in this whole thing, which is fundamental to the whole series of verses, is verse number 8. So we'll do 8 tomorrow as the topic for the class. Today we'll try to do 5, 6, and mention 7. Only because of time shortages, we cannot really spend a full class on each verse. So this one is verse number 5. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Krishneti yasya giratam manasadrityata. Dikshasti cheta dikshasti chet prana dibhischa bhajatam misam. Susrasya bhajam vigyam anayam manyana. Nandari sunyam ridam ipsitam sangalabdriya. So the verses are sequential, which now be heard about. The fourth verse was different loving exchanges between devotees. Now we understand the different categories of devotees. There's 3 categories: first class, second class, and third class. So this verse mentions all 3. One should mentally honor the devotee who chants the holy name of the Lord, the holy name of Lord Krishna. One should offer humble obeisances to the devotee who has undergone spiritual initiation, diksha, and is engaged in worshiping the deity. And one should associate with and faithfully serve that pure devotee who has advanced in undeviated devotional service and whose heart is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others. So here, the 3 categories of Vaishnavas are meant. They're known as Kanista Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, and Uttama Adhikari. Kanista means Prakrita Bhakta, or materialistic devotee. And here's the description. Kanista Adhikari is a neophyte who has received the Harinam initiation from the spiritual master and is trying to chant the holy name of Krishna. One should respect such a person within the mind as a Kanishta Vaishnava. Kanishta means materialist or Prakriti devotee. Next is the second class. Madhyama Adhikari has received spiritual initiation from the spiritual master and has been fully engaged by him in transcendental loving service to the Lord. The Madhyama Adhikari should be considered to be situated midway in devotional service. The Uttama Adhikari, the highest devotee, is one who is very advanced in devotional service. An Uttama Adhikari is not interested in blaspheming others. His heart is completely clean and he has attained the realized state of unalloyed Krishna consciousness. According to Srila Rupa Goswami, the association and service of such a Mahabhagavat or perfect Vaishnava are most desirable. Here it goes on, one should not remain in the category of Kanishta. Such persons are maybe inclined to worship the deity, and they also honor the spiritual master, but they do not have too much or any regard for other devotees. They think that they've made nice advancement simply by worshiping the deity and doing some basic services. But They are still on the platform of materialist devotee because they don't know how to associate with or respect other devotees. Therefore, one has to move themselves out of this lower stage, Kanistadikari, to the next one, which is Madhyamarikari. Now here, you'll find Srila Prabhupada mentions that one should perform devotional service on the second class platform. In other words, Kanista is not something that is acceptable. It's something at the beginning, and a lot of times Kanistas, they don't understand the philosophy. They think they're advanced just because they're doing service, but actually they really don't have understanding of different devotees, nor do they give proper respects to others. The Madhyamakari is a devotee who worships the Supreme Lord, personality of God, and is the highest object of love. That's 1 point. Makes friends with the Lord's devotees, is merciful to the ignorant, and avoids those who are envious by nature. So this is a platform where Srila Prabhupada says ISKCON society should operate on the second class program. 4 principles: give your love through the means of service to Krishna, make friends and associate and make friends with other devotees, is merciful to the ignorant, tries to raise those who are not devotees up towards Krishna consciousness, and very carefully avoids the atheists and those who are against devotional service. This is the platform where devotees can make a nice advancement. The highest platform is the Uttama Adhikari. His characteristics cannot be imitated. He is pure. He sees all other devotees as being more advanced than him, although he is on the highest platform. He doesn't, let's see what his Prabhupada say. He doesn't, he even sees the non-devotees as being more advanced than him. Now, one cannot somehow imitate that level of bhakti. It's called Uttama Adhikari. And those who are highly developed spiritual masters who are pure in heart, that's why when we chant the mantra, Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajacharya. So you notice there's 2 categories are being mentioned there. Paramahansa is the Uttama-Adhikari, Parivakacharya is the middle class. So the highest, because there's no preaching on the highest platform, they don't preach because they see everyone is more advanced than they are. And they come down to the second class platform in order to preach. Prabhupada, in his last days, when he was, just before he was leaving the world, he was apologizing in a very humble way to everyone, saying, I committed so many offenses to everyone. I spoke so, strongly. But what he was saying was he actually was coming back to his Uttama mood. Prabhupada was an Uttamanarikari, but in order to preach, you can't preach from that platform because there's nobody to preach to. Everybody's more advanced than you. So this is a course of consciousness that cannot be imitated. So there are those who are on that high platform. Usually it's not something they attain in one birth. They usually come either from the spiritual world or have had so many births in devotional service previously and have now come to the highest platform in the present birth they're in. So these are the 3 categories. But Prabhupada emphasizes, and he talks about it in Bhagavatam, that we should practice devotional service on the second class platform. And that's, again, the 4 points, is that Krishna becomes the object of our loving service. The devotees we make friends with devotees, associate with devotees, and also in that atmosphere take opportunities to serve the devotees. Whenever opportunities present themselves, or even creating opportunities, we try to go out and make the non-devotees devotees through the process of preaching, teaching, and reaching out to them. And the last one, that is those who are envious, atheistic, that devotee very carefully avoids them. It's like giving milk to a serpent. So they don't take, when they see or meet someone like that, they completely avoid that person in order for them not to get entangled in with, some kind of contention that causes only argument or blasphemy or whatever. So we usually avoid that. So so these are the 4 categories on how one should execute devotional service like that. Let me see if I can read this. It's early. So Kanista, he worships the deity. He behaves badly with devotees. Hare Krishna. Maybe here it doesn't happen, but it happens in a lot of places around the world. He's got his Harinam initiation. He's trying to chant, and he has pliable faith, soft and what we say unsteady, in his devotional service. That's Kanista. Sometimes we engage them in deity worship, not directly because they are not second initiated, but some form of assisting in the deity worship like that, because they get attached to the deity, and that's good. But then they have to learn that that same deity that they're worshiping is situated in the hearts of all living entities, and that's the real consciousness of how to worship the deity. You're worshiping the deity and you don't see that same deity in the hearts of all, then you're still in the Kanista or basic platform, when we say the lowest platform. The Madhyama, this writing is so small I can't even read it here. He's knowledge. He is he's engaged in loving service to the Lord. He's merciful, fixed up and surrounded by the Krishna conscious process. Let's see what else. Makes friends with devotees, avoids the envious. He has knowledge of Shastra and can speak. Undeterred, continues to process he's not disturbed. In other words, he's fixed. He's faithful and firm in chanting like that. Of course, the Uttama Adhikari has so many characteristics here. Self-realized. This writing is so small. Strict in following the 4 regulars, disinterested in material enjoyment. Let's see. Uncritical. These are some of the things that are there. He's usually in a position of spiritual master, but he comes down from that Uttama consciousness. Although he is still Uttama, he acts on the second class platform for the sake of preaching. So one should know these qualities, and that way one can understand who is in what category. Because it says for the Kanista Adhikari, you honor them in your mind. You can respect them by offering obeisances in your mind. For the Madhyama Adhikari, one should offer humble obeisances and look for opportunities to serve them. And the Uttama Adhikari, one should hear from them and also look for opportunities to serve them. These are the three categories. So there's a nice verse in the third canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, verse number 20, chapter 21, verse 31. It talks about the different levels. And generally for those in the middle road, they should make arrangements, especially those who live in household life. They should use their home to open it up and invite traveling sannyasis and others to come, hold discourses in Krishna consciousness, distribute prasadam to whoever comes, and therefore, and also inquire from their spiritual master how they can progress in devotional service. Like that. So the middle class is also in the mood of preaching or reaching out. Sometimes we say teaching, preaching, reaching out. So these are characteristics that are very prominent in these three categories of devotees. Let's see if there's any more info. So pretty much I just covered basically the essence of this particular verse. It says here, one should not become a spiritual master unless he has attained a platform of Uttama Arikari. But do we follow that? There are spiritual masters who are on the Madhyavan platform, who are never on the Uttama, who only go to the level of Madhya. They can also take up, but one should take shelter and guidance from an Uttama Arikari. But it says, if an Uttama Arikari is not available, then one can take shelter and get guidance from a Madhyamam spiritual master. But it says that Madhyamam Adhikari can only take you as far as he has. He can make more advancement, and that means you can also make advancement in the same way. But because he's not on the highest platform, he is still, he's not, what we say, he can only take you as far as he is also. In some cases, also Kanista can become a guru, but as that's in when there is hardly anybody available. But that's not recommended. It didn't, but that will be mentioned also in the next verse, okay? Any questions about these three categories and how yes?
A devotee should be in automatic state to go back to Godhead or the state of
One can reach perfection in the Madhyama stage, yes. Mm-hmm. Simply, it says that one should give their love to Krishna. So the process is not bhakti, and there's 9 stages of bhakti. So it's not that because one is not an Uttama Adhikari, he can't reach the perfectional stage. And one should know what are those stages: Adaustrata, faith, sadhu sangha, association with devotees, bhajana kriya, taking shelter of a spiritual master and get initiated, anartha nivritti, spiritual master guides, instructs his disciple, and helps them overcome the blocks which are called anarthas. When one clears away 75% of the anarthas, one can move to the next stage. It's called nishta. Nishta means I'm fixed. No matter what happens, I'm not going to go away. Nishta. Before then, we're up and down. Sometimes up, sometimes down, up and down. It's like riding the boat on the wavy sea. But a nishta is fixed. And after executing devotional service in that process, they come to ruchi. Brahma bhuta prasannatma natoshati nakankshati. Somebody said, bhuteshu mad bhakti lavate pranam. They don't hanker, they don't amend. They're feeling joyful all the time in Krishna consciousness. They're on the platform of ruchi. They got a sweet taste for devotional service. When that becomes intensified and reaches the perfection, one can move to this next stage, is called ashakti. Ashakti means fixed attachment for Krishna. One is always thinking of Krishna. One doesn't waste one moment of time doing anything but devotional service. They are always thinking of Krishna, how to serve Krishna. They're attached to Krishna. They've developed some affection, but that affection is still preliminary. Then, when that stage becomes full, and they can move to the next stage, is deep feelings of emotional love for Krishna. And that's called the Bhava stage. And that has 6 stages in it. And then when Bhava becomes intensified, and then this is all described in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Jaiva Dharma, the different stages like that. You can also read it in the Nectar of Devotion. Rupa Goswami explains to some detail these different characteristics of these different stages. And then the person will move to the highest stage, and that's Prema Bhakti. Then actual genuine love for Krishna is awakened within their heart. And they serve Krishna out of love, not out of rules and regulations, simply out of love. And then in that stage, in Prema, there is 8 stages. To the highest stage is Mahabhava, and that's where Radharani is, Lord Chaitanya, and Madhavendra Puri. He says that only no fourth person, at least in this material world, has reached Mahabhava stage. It's such a high stage of bhakti. The intensification of love is described by characteristics, but not so much by trying to evaluate it. You can get some idea what of that. For instance, I give you Radharani is there and Krishna is there. And there's a bee flying around and bothering Radharani. So the bee is called Madhu. That's another name for bee, is Madhu. So Madhu Mangal, Krishna's friend, he sees he wants to make some solution. So he chases the bee away. And then he says, Madhu's gone, Madhu's gone, Madhu's gone. And Radharani's hearing, oh, Madhu's gone, oh my God. And she's sitting right next to Krishna, but she's hearing Madhu's gone. And Madhu's another name for Krishna. And she's going into an experience of separation from Krishna, although Krishna's right next to her. So these are symptoms of Mahabhava. These you can't imitate this. It's not possible. But these are you can show, you can understand a little bit what is the characteristics of those who have the highest level of love for Krishna. And that's usually his residence in Vrindavan, and especially exemplified by the gopis, and particularly by Srimati Radharani. Mm-hmm. So that's a stage that is not achieved in this world. But all of these different stages are gradual elevations to higher and higher intensifications of love for Krishna. It says in the scriptures that there's only.
So till what stage that is?
There's only one person outside of Lord Chaitanya and Radharani. That was Madhavendra Puri. It says that he was on that stage of Mahabhava. And it says no fourth person. In the spiritual world, it's there, but not in the material world. Madhavendra Puri appeared in this world. He's an incarnation of the Kalpavriksha tree coming from the spiritual world. So just to give you a little indication of what the highest expression of loving sentiments are. By reading about Srimati Radharani's pastimes of love from Krishna, you get a little indication. It's madness. It makes no sense. The love on that level makes no sense. It's not logical. It's complete madness. That's the only way I can describe it. Okay. Any other questions? Yes. Champak Bali.
Thank you so much. Thank you for Swami for lecture. So so we were talking about the stages of life. I was wondering how can we progress to the next stage when it feels as though we're stuck on the present one for a long period of time?
How can you progress from one stage to another?
Yeah, what can I improve on myself?
Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives the characteristics of each stage. By evaluating the characteristics, you can understand what stage you're performing your bhakti on. And then he says you should know what are the characteristics of the next stage and aspire to attain those. He says if you don't move forward on the platform on bhakti, then you stay in that stage you're on, and then you fail to make advancement to the higher stage. So he said one should always be aspiring to make more and more advancement in Krishna consciousness. So how do we aspire to make more advancement? Well, by developing and fine-tuning the different qualities that are indication of a pure devotee, which are mentioned. The 26 qualities of the devotee mentioned in the Bhagavatam, and of course also in other places. Using every moment for serving the Lord. One cannot stop thinking about the Lord. One cannot stop serving the Lord. Even if they're not doing any active service, they're absorbed in Krishna in their mind, within their heart. Someone asked Srila Prabhupada, are you always chanting Hare Krishna? Prabhupada said, come, put your ear on my back. And they did, and they could hear the Maha Mantra going on inside. So a pure devotee is chanting inside constantly. He might be doing other things outside. The Maha Mantra is going on constantly. Or even the vision of the Lord is in their mind all the time. They're half here and half not here. They're in the spiritual world, and at the same time they're functioning as a neophyte by doing ordinary service, just to teach others, like that. That's why you can't understand the mind of an advanced devotee, unless you're on that same level. When we try to understand someone who is at a higher level, it's all speculation. Okay, so you have to know where you are and what's the next stage.
So, what are the different characteristics of each stages, and where should I find them?
Characteristics of the 9 process of bhakti. Rupa Swami mentions, I think, in Ujjvala Nilamani. Bhaktivinoda Thakur also talks about it in his books. Prabhupada mentions them not in a more systematic, but in a less systematic way throughout his writings. But most of us are on the platform of anartha nivritti. We're trying to get rid of these anarthas that block our progress in devotional service. And maybe some of us are on the platform of nishtha, where we're fixed. The anarthas are gone and they're fixed in devotional service. They're not going to go away no matter what happens. And then ruchi, if you meet a person on the platform of ruchi, they're happy all times. They're experiencing the happiness within their heart, and sometimes it's expressed outwardly in their activities also. So these characteristics are mentioned. Let me see where. Yeah, just for instance, I'll give you the characteristics of ruchi. There's two kinds of persons on the platform of Ruchi. Those who are attached to the excellence of elements and those who are unattached to the excellence of elements. You got it? Okay. All right. The kirtan is going on, and the singer can't sing, but he's glorifying the Lord. Because the glorification of the Lord is going on, the person who is unattached to the excellence of elements is still enjoying that kirtan nicely, even though the instruments are off, the person can't sing because they're tasting the happiness because it's a glorification of the Lord. And those who are on the other level of Ruchi, they have to have nice musical accompaniment, they have to have nice singers in order for them to taste that ecstasy. Hare Krishna. Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Bhaktisiddhanta couldn't sing, but he would lead sometimes. And his devotees were, sometimes a little bit because he had bhakti, and the bhakti was strong, but still he couldn't sing. But still, there was those who were enjoying it and those who couldn't, because they needed that excellence of elements. But Prabhupada wanted us in our society to have the excellence of elements for the sake of preaching, to have nice musical accompaniment, proper people who could actually sing nicely. But it's not required for bhakti, but for preaching it is. For preaching it is. So that's just an example of how in that stage of ruchi, there are some people who don't need all of the excellences. As long as the kirtan's going on, the service is going on, they're happy and they're feeling happy simply by the execution. Others require everything to be in place before they can experience that happiness. That's an example. That's an explanation, actually, of that level of bhakti. And let's see. Jaiva Dharma is really a good book for that. It explains all of the 9 stages and all of the characteristics. Nectar Devotion mentions it also. It takes each category and explains each one. I mean, on this platform of Ashakti, you're writing love letters to Krishna. Yes. Microphone.
Can someone also be in more than one state,
They can go back and forth, but they're fixed on one stage. Yeah. Going back and forth means there's still some anarthas there. Yeah. They can experience. It says that even a brand new devotee can experience ecstasy. But that's just an experience, doesn't mean they're on that platform. Just because their heart and mind was in the right mood, then they were able to absorb that transcendental sound vibration immediately. It's like when you first come to Krishna consciousness. Yay! Wow, the devotees are all pure devotees. Everything's so nice. The prasadam is coming from Krishna's personal cook. Everything is just so nice. Oh yeah, it smells nice. Oh wow, I never guessed. It's like, and then after a few months, oh, this devotee is not so nice. You start seeing things in the material way, and then that absorption that was completely open and unassuming sometimes it gets reduced like that. That's why you see a lot of new devotees, they experience really ecstasy because they're unassuming. They're just taking everything in. But then if you stay around for a while, then you start thinking, it doesn't have to happen like that, but it usually does. Then we start seeing mistakes, faults, and other things, and then we lose that experience. But you can come back to that experience when you're actually fully purified. Okay, we have another question. Oh, yes. Hare Krishna.
I had a question. Was it
The Kanishta Adhikari is? Yeah.
What if the devotee is not initiated but is completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness?
That's something extremely rare. That means there's something from previous lives. Usually no one can get fully absorbed unless they're actually working under the guidance of the spiritual master. But it's possible. There are people who come to our movement who have a little bit of karma left, and then they just come in and they purify themselves and they go back home, back to Godhead. Many of the children born in our movement are like that. And some of them have just a little bit of material taint left. They take birth in the family of devotees and they finish up. I had one god sister, she was telling me about her daughter. The girl, they had to watch her constantly because she was always almost dying each time. They had to save her so many times from death. And then at one point, it was John Mastami, nobody was watching her. She fell into a pool and drowned. This was in Detroit. It was in that, yeah. And so she told me the whole story of the life of her. She said, I'm sure this girl that Krishna gave me as my daughter had a little bit left, and that she just finished it out. Yeah. So there are people who come into our movement who've just got a little bit of karma left. They stay for some time, they finish up their karma, and then they go back home, back to God. They don't even go through the whole series of stages. So, yeah, it's like that. This is one boy in Vrindavan. I don't know if you know Madhava Das. You've seen him on YouTube. He's like, when he was 5 years old, he was preaching. And now he's about 8 or 9. He knows 3,100 slokas. And he's learned those 3,100 slokas from 21 different scriptures. When he preaches, not only does he quotes the verse, but he gives amazing explanations on the verse. He was actually a disciple of Gopal Krishna Maharaj. His name is Madhava Das. You can see him you go on YouTube and find him. The guy is amazing. He's about the age of Mukunda, maybe even a little younger than Mukunda. So, and there are people who are born in our movement who are highly advanced, but, we don't expect them to go through the 9 stages. They're already fixed in Krishna consciousness. Yeah.
Maharaj, I think you've answered this question before, but as you said, after a few months in Krishna consciousness, you add about different ways.
Well, you start seeing faults, not necessarily thinking bad, but when you first come, the experience is that everything is so wonderful, but then after a while, you lose that and you start discriminating between good and bad.
How do you stop yourself from thinking bad about others?
Think good about them. When you see yourself thinking bad about someone, think good. Oh, and what is that good? That everyone is, that person is a devotee, so therefore they have good qualities simply by the fact that they accepted devotional service. That's all. Yeah. Even if you can't find any other good quality, the good qualities that came to Krishna.
Maharaj, since we're talking about those different stages, and there was one question about
Question about?
There was one question about when does one attain perfection? So since you mentioned that it is some souls may come with, they may have already been very advanced in the previous birth, and so they need not go through all the stages. So I was just thinking, if as one is progressing across the different stages, is there like if someone leaves their body, let's say they have crossed over to other modality, and they are in further stages, so at that point of time, where they, I mean, what is the if they have to go back to Godhead, do they really need to get to the final stage, or depending on where they leave their body?
Before you can enter into the spiritual world, you have to have love for Krishna. Yeah. There's nothing short of that. Whether it's Vaikuntha and Krishna and its Narayan feature, Vishnu feature, or it's Krishna and Vrindavan. Yeah, there has to be love of God there. It's not like when you get there, you keep working on it. Yeah. You have to come to the stage of prema, at least in the preliminary stages of prema. But sometimes a person can finish up their whatever anarthas they have at the time of death and reach perfection just at the last moment. That's possible. Krishna sees this person has given their whole life to me in devotional service, but they're not perfect. So he arranges for that person in the last stages to reach perfection by clearing away all of the, blocks. Krishna will do that. That's his mercy on his devotee. But then it says, generally it takes more than one lifetime to go back to Godhead. Usually, by executing devotional service in one lifetime, you can attain to the position of associating with Krishna in another planet in the universe where Krishna is performing his pastimes. So that's also a very high attainment in spiritual life. And then from there, after that birth, you go back home, back to Godhead. Prabhupada says usually it takes more than one birth, but it can happen in one birth. But then we don't know, how many births each person's had. So that's why we respect all devotees for whatever level they're practicing. Glories Prabhupada. Hari.
Maharaj, I was wondering, you were speaking about how these I consciousness and you slowly like you start to balance out not the balance. So Maharaj, how do you develop that steadiness in our deep inside?
So how do you develop steadiness in your execution of devotional service? Steadiness. That comes when many of the things that make us unsteady are called the anarthas. We mentioned there's 4 categories of anarthas. Each category has 4 anarthas within it. So you see, and it says that when you rid yourself of 75% of the anarthas, you reach the platform of nishta, of steadiness. So learn the anarthas and try to overcome them by avoiding the ones you should avoid. Most of them you should avoid. Philosophical misconceptions that we can overcome by learning the Shastra. Understanding Krishna's position, we can understand that by hearing from the great souls. But then envy, pratishta, desire for material fame, desire for heavenly planets. Prabhupada said, he said, many of my disciples will go to Svargaloka. They won't finish up. They'll reach the heavenly planets. And that's another way of hell. Yeah. Yeah. Prabodhananda Saraswati calls heavenly planets, he calls it Akash Pushpayate. Akash Pushpayate. Akash means sky and Push means flower. Flowers that grow in the sky. No flowers grow in the sky, no. So he calls heavenly planets some phantasmagoria. That's not. In other words, it's not something desirable. And liberation, he calls it worse than hell. The devotee who is tasting the happiness of Krishna consciousness will never want to go back to the heavenly planets, or as heavenly planets, at least it's described in the scriptures, as material life is very nice. Very nice. Longevity, beautiful people, heart, no diseases, everything is materially ideal. But then Shinya Punya, what is it? Shinya Punya Vashanti. You know that verse? Shinya Punya. I'm missing one word. Huh? Yeah, it means after some time when your pious credit runs out, it's like when you're driving your car and you run out of gas, you stop. After some time, the pious credits, and then you fall. In your punya. Well, your punya is finished. You come back to the material world again, at a lower level. So devotees are not interested in these things. Does that give you an answer to your question? In other words, desire only Krishna. If you do that, then you'll be steady in devotions. I want Krishna. What do I have to do to get Krishna? Yeah, we have to focus our attention on Krishna. That's the goal ultimately.
I just have a question connecting to the answer that you gave. How do we reconcile with the statement that Srila Prabhupada also says that, you know what, I will take you back to God and have a, to the back door. How can we reconcile that to where you mentioned that all of his disciples, for me, I'm feeling that, oh my God, Prabhupada's disciples have sacrificed so much and not even close to anywhere what we all have done. So there's no hope.
What he's saying is, if you stay fixed in Krishna consciousness your whole life, spiritual master will be there to take you back. That's special mercy. You shouldn't count on it. If you count on it, you might be disappointed. That means that's the prerogative of the spiritual master. He can do that. There was one example, one devotee, his name was Sudam. He was Srila Prabhupada's, one of his first devotees. He preached in Japan. He opened up the whole Japanese yastra. And then he, of course, became a sannyasi. And he did so much service. You can see pictures of him with Prabhupada. But somehow after Prabhupada left, he fell away. And then he returned. He fell really far down. He went back to his old ways, was taking drugs and all kinds of sinful activities. At one point, he was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And so at that point, he came back to the devotees, again to associate with devotees. And of course, he was mostly bedridden. And at that time, it was, I think, a couple of weeks or almost a month, he stayed with devotees. And then at one point, the devotees explained what happened when he left his body. He was sitting in his bed. All of a sudden, he looked in one direction and he said, "Prabhupada, you've come." And that was it. And he left his body. His eyes got big, and obviously he was seeing Prabhupada coming to take him. He did such wonderful service to help start Srila Prabhupada's moving and preaching. Prabhupada gave him that special mercy, although he had fallen way down. So that's something that the spiritual master or the Lord can do, but it's not part of the, what we say. You can say, well, I'll just be who I am, and then doesn't matter. Krishna will be there, and Haribo. No, it may not work. So yeah, but that's how bhakti works. The special mercy is available, but it's special. It comes from above. It's not something you can access. You can earn it by your devotion, but then the actual consummation of that comes from the higher powers. It says the door to the spiritual world has a handle only on the inside. You can't open it out from the outside. You have to be let in. Yeah, that's true. Arjuna, Krishna told him, you have to fight, but you should know your fighting is not the cause of your victory. But still you have to fight. Never consider happiness, distress, honor, or dishonor, defeat, victory or defeat. Fight on my behalf. Because one acts on behalf of the Lord, then the mercy of the Lord flows. So we have to show Krishna by our activities and our devotion. And then it's up to him what will happen. Yes.
Maharaj, I wanted to understand about two statements Sri Prabhupada made and get more understanding on that. First one is when Prabhupada said, like, we'll have our own ISKCON in the spiritual world. Like,
And you'll be the temple president. That's good, because if you are, I'll definitely make a point to come.
second one is,
I won't say anything else.
second question is, Maharaj, when Sri Prabhupada said, like I heard, when devotees, like you have to be 100% pure to get to the spiritual world, but then Sri Prabhupada, okay, 80%, 70%.
But that's concessionary, that's mercy. Prabhupada could see his disciples were very fallen. And so there was one lecture. You shouldn't take these things as absolute principles. Prabhupada was giving a lecture, he was on the Vyasa-san. And he said, you have to become fully Krishna conscious in order to go back home, back to Godhead, fully. And everyone was like silently, there was a silence, a dead silence in the atmosphere. My Brahma said, all right, 90%. Probably could understand devotees were overwhelmed by that statement. And then the silence continued. Prabhupada said, 80%. And he looked around and he said, 70%, no less. And he walked off the aisle. So what he's saying, do your best. And leave the rest up to Krishna and the spiritual masters. These things are not calculable. You can't calculate these things and expect that that's going to be the way the things go. It's all mercy. It's all mercy. It's like we pray, Ayi Nanda Tunucha Kinkaram, Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddha, Kripaya Tavapada Pankaja, Stita Duli Sadrisham Vichintayam. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servant. Somehow or other, I've fallen into this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. So a devotee prays like that. You have to pick me up. I can't do it, but I'm trying. I'm trying, but only by your mercy, you pick me up. And so that prayer is really a prayer that devotees should learn and chant regularly. That we're praying for the Lord to bring us back to his lotus feet in devotion. Pray like that. That's because the devotee knows by their own efforts they always fall short.
Pride is very, very dangerous, and for myself personally, that although I have nothing to be proud about, still pride is also very detrimental. Even though I can see that my sadhana, my seva is quite disgusting, but still the mind is so hypocritical to become proud.
Right. Well, pride comes when you make some advancement, others start to glorify you for your service or something about you. And then you start thinking that what they're saying is correct. And then you think, yeah, well, they finally understood. Took me a while, but I convinced them. But it's not like that. I'm so humble, I'm proud of it. So you have pride cometh before the fall, as it says in Christianity. As soon as you become proud, then you should know Krishna will do something to relieve you of that pride. And if you maintain that, then that pride will cause you to fall. So we are proud of the spiritual master because it's by his mercy that we are able to do anything or even make advancement. We're proud of Krishna. We consider ourselves fortunate to have the opportunity of devotional service. Therefore, if you look at things the way they unfold, you'll see everything that you can do and everything that you achieve by your activities is coming from the outside. You make the effort is coming from you, but your effort alone doesn't bring about the results. So why should we be proud of something that ultimately is we're 1/5 of all activities? It says that in the Gita. The endeavor, the time, the place, the paraphernalia, the living entity, and ultimately the super soul makes up the ingredients of all activities. It's our effort that brings about whatever we can achieve. But that effort attracts the mercy of the Lord. The Lord doesn't want to give his mercy for whatever effort we make, then those efforts are, there's no result, or there's no desired result. So pride is something that is very difficult to overcome, because if you're born in a good family, you can be proud. If you're wealthy, you can be proud. If you are good at doing things, you become proud of that. So pride is very easy and it's very subtle. You can't even see it. You can't even see it. Well, the best thing is always be in the mood of serving the Vaishnavas. If you're always in the mood of serving the Vaishnava, you don't have time to become proud. Because you're always thinking how to serve.
Actually, what happens is that when sometimes when the absorption in Krishna is not good, so then this pride comes, and even though I see that it is there, I know it is not good, but I don't know how to remove it immediately. It may take some time, but may not act and I not speak, may praying, but it takes some time to remove it. That it's like a covering. So,
Yeah. Association of devotees, especially those who are more advanced, can help with that. It says if you compare yourself to someone, different people, some people you are better, and some people you're less. Compare yourself to Krishna. and then you won't get proud. Okay, so any other comments, questions? Yes.
what is the safest place to be? Is it to say yourself around with the Kanishta?
What's the safest place to be?
Should you consider yourself always the Kanishta and
Well, Prabhupada says you should try to raise yourself up to the platform of Madhyamam, and that's by working on developing and practicing those four qualities. Try to love Krishna, try to associate with and serve devotees, look for opportunities to give Krishna consciousness to others, and also even get involved in programs of preaching. And the last one is just avoid those atheists, non-devotees. But even though a person is doing that, they don't think, well, I'm advanced. Because advancement is unlimited. The more you advance, the more you understand how far you have to go yet. And then every once in a while, you can see how you mess up things. Then you think, oh, I thought I was advanced. What to do, Krishna consciousness means constant attention. Constant. There's no break in that attention on Krishna, on devotional service. As soon as you deviate your consciousness away to something else, you should know you're in a position to be victimized by wrong activities or wrong thoughts. Okay, does that help? I'm going to read the next verse because we won't have time. Tomorrow's the last class, and I want to get to verse number 8, which is the verse that I think everyone will. That's more like the summation of everything. Here, I'll just read the next verse. Being situated in his original Krishna conscious position, a pure devotee does not identify with the body. I have a body, but I'm not the body. Such a devotee should not be seen from a materialistic point of view. Indeed, one should overlook a devotee's having a body born in a low family, a body with a bad complexion, a deformed body, or diseased or infirm body. According to ordinary vision, such imperfections may seem prominent in the body of a pure devotee, but despite such seeming defects, the body of the pure devotee cannot be polluted. It is exactly like the waters of the Ganges, which during the rainy seasons are sometimes full of bubbles, foam, and mud. The Ganges waters do not become polluted. Those who are advanced in spiritual understanding will bathe in the Ganges without considering the condition of the water. So, just like Srila Haridas Thakur was born in a very Malecha family, but still, he was Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur. There are devotees who you'll see, they may have some imperfection, some disease, something, but that doesn't mean that they're still not advanced in devotional service. So in other words, this says one should not judge a person simply by their body, but by their activities and the characteristics they exhibit like that. A Kanistha Adhikari cannot distinguish between a devotee and a non-devotee. He is simply concerned with worshiping the deity in the temple. However, a Madhyama Adhikari can distinguish between the devotee and the non-devotee, as well between the devotee and the Lord. Thus he treats the personality of Godhead, the devotee and the non-devotee in different ways. No one should criticize the bodily defects of a pure devotee. If there are such defects, they should be overlooked. Then he goes on to explain, if we consider the bodily defects of a Vaishnava, we should understand that we are committing an offense at the lotus feet of that Vaishnava. Offense at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava is very serious. Lord Chaitanya has called it Hatimata. Okay. In other words, here is an Indian Vaishnava, here's a Western Vaishnava, here's an African Vaishnava. This is materialistic vision. Vaishnava is Vaishnava. Just like Krishna is not Indian, he's God. Although he appears in that area of the world. Still, Vaishnavas should not be seen according to their bodily designations, or judged or evaluated by that. Nice ring. Hard to shut off. Any other questions? Oh, we got the demigoddesses showering flowers. Obviously, so. Rohini was telling me something today. He went on the altar to take the deity's cups off, and he found that Krishna's cup was full of water, Radharani's cup was half full, Nityananda's cup was about half full, and Lord Chaitanya's cup was also half full. So that's what he told me. So if you think that the deity is just some stone or wood, then Arche Vishnu Sila Di Guru Shum, that means your vision is material. Krishna's there, Radharani's there, Gaura is there. Another question? We can begin Arti after this question.
How is it possible? Because while speaking on Bhagavatam or Beijing, I find myself that whatever I speak, sometimes I'm able to apply, sometimes I'm not able to apply. So how can I not be hypocritical when I speak?
So you're speaking sometimes beyond what you can practice and sometimes what you can practice, right?
What I am able to practice sometimes, I'm not able to practice sometimes. So,
Yeah, sometimes in preaching we do that. But the potency of your preaching will come by the amount, how much you're following what you're speaking. Then it becomes effective. You reach people by your words are there, but the words are empowered by your activities.
how not to become hypocritical? How to make sure that I'm not becoming hypocritical?
Just repeat according to what you hear from the Guru, from Sadhu, from Krishna, what you read in the scriptures, and learn how to apply it according to the circumstance that you're speaking it in. Yeah. I mean, sometimes we go a little bit beyond, but it's not a regular thing. Okay, thank you. So tomorrow will be the last class, and then there will be Yugala Kishore will announce all of tomorrow's activities, maybe now, or you want to announce it later? Okay.
Hare Krishna. Tomorrow, Maharaj will do Bhagavatam class, but Bhagavatam class you will cover like instruction. The course. And slight change in schedule instead of initiations, instead of having them at 10:30, we'll have them at 12 o'clock. So I request all those initiates, they should be here at 11:45, and the initiations will start at 12 o'clock. So the Brahmasai Parisato, we do Brahmasai Parisato at 15. Then the Maharaj class will happen immediately after that. So tomorrow all will happen silently. It will have silent after tomorrow. And the Kirtan will happen after the initiation is over. So Maharaj will give the class, and then initiation, then